Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Good, all right. Definitely happy to be here in Montreal. This is a place where I was born, actually. I was born in Montreal, des Ornemaux, and then they realized I don't speak French very well. I don't know how to ice skate, and I'm not a big fan of poutine, so they kicked me out of the province. And now I live in Ontario, so don't hold that against me. I work for Scotiabank. I'm the deputy CISO there. And this talk is around generative AI and LLMs. Have a couple of questions for you guys first. I do a lot of fraud and cybersecurity talks. Do you guys get phishing texts or emails from your bank saying, please click on this link to sort out your security? Yeah? Yes? Okay. Do you guys get them in French? No, not so much English, eh? One of the things that we're seeing from a generative AI perspective is languages. I'll give you one example. I work with a bank in the Caribbean called MCB Bank. In the Caribbean, in particular Aruba, Curacao, Saint Martin, and Bonaire, they speak a language called Papiamento. It's kind of a mixture between French, English, Spanish, Creole, a whole bunch of kind of hodgepodge of different languages. For me, it's impossible to figure out. Less than 0.0001% of the world speaks this language. They just started receiving phishing emails in Papiamento last month. And how is this possible? Through generative AI and LLM. So we're seeing definitely attackers use AI, as well as defenders taking advantage of AI. And what do I mean by AI and LLM? Next slide. Or do I have a clicker? I do, maybe? Awesome. Any company in this day and age, when it comes to generative AI, you need to embrace it. All your vendors providing cybersecurity solutions definitely have AI as part of their roadmap. Competitively, AI is similar to cloud technology, in my opinion. Cloud was a very significant technological advance from on-prem to co-location to cloud. Similar to AI, no longer we have humans kind of summarizing text. Now we can do it in a very quick manner using LLMs. So generative AI is basically the learning modules that includes any capable of generating content. What are large language models? You're basically feeding it with huge amounts of text, they're learning, and they're generating content. What we're seeing AI and LLMs used for is content generation. I read blogs on places like TechCrunch, Ars Technica, that are created now by computers, not necessarily humans. Data augmentation, simulations, language translations and language learning, predictive analysis, and text summarization are the 6 biggest use cases in 2023 that we're seeing related to AI and LLM. If you look at ChatGPT, it's almost a year out now that ChatGPT has been released in the public. It first came out in around the December timeframe last year. And it has grown off quite exponentially from an OpenAI to now a Microsoft product. Microsoft and Google are definitely leading the way when it comes to LLM and AI. What are the strengths and limitations? There's a few. One is the natural language understanding, coding Excel formulas, and simple atomic tasks. LLMs are essentially just tools. They're not sentient beings. It's not Skynet coming after you. These are tools to help you with your business in terms of being more productive. I'll give you a great example. My spouse does wedding planning for a company in Canada, and her job is dealing with brides all day long for destination weddings. She does 150 of them a year. You can imagine the job that she has in dealing with these types of ladies. Whenever I feel bad about my job, I look to her and I feel instantly better about the work that I have to do because it's not an easy job, especially when brides are complaining about things. ChatGPT was a boon to her because simply she answers, a bride's complaining about this, how should I respond? And she gets this beautiful, diffusing type of language from ChatGPT, which is fantastic. Now, similar to her company and other companies in the world, ChatGPT is blocked for her because there are security risks with things like confidential data leaving the organization, as well as ChatGPT being used for bad. ChatGPT is only as smart as the information you feed it. I'll give you one example. I had a co-op student working for me, asked him to create a white paper on threat actors, groups like Hive, Black Hat, the big ones coming out right now. And he wrote this paper, and it was wrong. It was full of inaccuracies. And I can tell that was ChatGPT written as opposed to human written. So how do we kind of look at the accuracy and the faith and the reliance that we have on these types of tools. It requires still very much a human to augment that to make sure we have quality and accuracy. LLM limitations, creating complex strategies, translating computer code into a different language, going from a data set to an ML model. A lot of companies these days have legacy code, stuff on AS400, ZOS systems. Well, wouldn't it be great if we can modernize that code onto the cloud, onto distributed systems? And we used to hire teams of developers to kind of do this work. Now we can automate that a lot with OpenAI, AI, LLM. But again, we still have that code quality issue. Still needs a human to make sure, does this code actually work? Does 1 + 1 = 2? Or did AI translate that to equal 3? So in my opinion, similar to when cloud computing came out about 10, 15 years ago, we're still very much in our infancy of AI and how we're going to embrace this and how society is going to use this. So families of LLM products, aggregate research products, knowledge management, post-call transcription, call center recording. I look to Microsoft to actually lead the way. Well, they are leading the way. It's not that I look to them to do it. If I look at my Microsoft Teams, every few often I get these beautiful new Teams features. Teams Copilot, I'm now transcribing my meetings and I don't have to pay a scribe to do that anymore. And the action items are documented and it's beautiful because no longer do I have to figure out, did Bob say that he was going to do to it or did Sally do that? Now it's documented in real time right after the meeting. These types of productivity tools is going to change society to a greater extent. And it's not so much a question around, is AI here? It is here. The question is, how do you use it? So let's take a break from schools for a second. When the calculator came out about 20 years ago, teachers were freaking out. Oh, our students are going to be dumb. They can't use math anymore. They're going to not know how to add 1 + 1. Calculators are now part of the core curriculum for math students. Math students know how to use calculators as a tool. It doesn't replace the critical thinking that the student still needs, but it definitely replaces a lot of the work, the manual effort that requires regurgitation and memorization, which could be better augmented by an LLM or an AI. So again, it's not so much about the tool, but much about how you're using the tool. Code generation we talked about, and chatbots, generating ideas, conducting research, summarizing information and creative writing. I think this is a great idea where from a call center perspective, from increasing productivity for common requests, companies need to embrace this type of technology. Because a lot of the questions that they're getting are common types of questions. How do I change my due date for this payment? How do I change my address information? And to be quite honest, I'd rather interact with a company in my own natural language as opposed to a generic English company, for instance, when I'm speaking French. LLM is going to be able to assist with bridging those gaps in real time. So, lots of security and privacy considerations. In fact, that's probably the #1 barrier for LLM adoption. And to be quite honest, I've heard this before when it came to cloud. Oh, we can't go to the cloud. Oh, it's too scary. Oh, they don't have the right controls. If you look at Microsoft and Google and the amount of money they're investing in the cybersecurity roadmaps of their cloud offerings, I challenge any Canadian company to meet that level of investment. So take advantage of those roadmaps. Help you with your own type of security. The risks are related to data reliance on the LLM-generated content, inaccuracies, again, that 1 + 1 = 3. You need that subject matter expert to verify that the information being generated is accurate. Prompt injections and training data processing. Depending on how you talk to your OpenAI company or generative AI, you'll get different answers. So pretend I'm a teacher talking to a 10-year-old. Please give me some prompts. Will yield a different answer than pretend I'm the president of Canada working with my constituents. The level of language will be adjusted. And AI continues to become smarter and smarter as more text and data is fed into it. When we look at the cyber risks, data loss, similar to any other website that exists on the internet, your employees who have access to the internet have the ability to post data on the internet, whether it be Box.com, Facebook.com, or OpenAI. What are your existing controls of how you're monitoring, blocking, managing internet access, and how will you adjust those for AI situations? Are you decrypting and inspecting your traffic before it gets re-encrypted and goes out the front door? Or is it just an HTTPS post and you have no idea what's going on in there? So are you using endpoint controls to get to that DLP type of insight that you need? When it comes to unauthorized code execution, probably the best example I have is a GPT flavor called Worm GPT and Fraud GPT, which are malicious versions of GPT. And what do? Write polymorphic code and polymorphic phishing emails. It's basically an attacker's toolkit, and they sell this toolkit to criminals for the low price of $295 to $495 USD. Insufficient access controls around OpenAI or modeling. And lastly, more plausible social engineering attacks. Vice magazine actually came out with an article about this about, I'd say 6 months ago, 7 months ago now, where they started seeing AI used to defeat call center voice authentication. To give you a story even more closer to home, I heard a song from Biggie, but it was sung by Tupac. And we are seeing now actors and screenwriters protesting in Hollywood because of AI and the ability to basically take someone's likeness and create whole situations. An example in terms of crime, I read an article recently in the UK where a son was kidnapped. The kidnappers called up the father and said, "Your son has been kidnapped, we need money." The father calls the school, and the son is actually sitting in class, has no idea what's going on in the world. Because what they basically did, the criminals, is copied the voice of the son and used that to call the father. So how do we defend against things like this? Well, to be quite honest, it's nothing really new. Defense in depth, multi-factor authentication, lines of defense in terms of not just what you have or what you know, but also using kind of risk-based adaptive engines, similar to what we do with online banking on our online websites. Are you coming in with the same phone number that you usually call in, with the same computer, at the same time, from the same country? Asking you questions that someone who maybe just copied your voice wouldn't have the answers to. Here's some examples of implications for entertainment. How many of you seen the latest Indiana Jones movie? Dial of Destiny. Yeah, a few of you? Okay, I don't want to spoil it too much, but Harrison Ford looks amazing, considering how old the man is and how he's jumping around and moving from kind of, car to truck to airplane to submarine. That's largely AI, and you're going to see a lot more of that. Netflix, personalized content. There used to be a time where I was scared to talk with my spouse about shopping in front of my computer because I started getting Facebook ads for dishes and for linens and things like that. You're going to see a lot more of that. The idea is targeted content that these companies are providing using AI as a benefit, so you, the consumer, have information for you to increase your buying decisions and basically support the companies that are be using these models. It's going to be very targeted, and it's only going to continue. Interactive experiences, content restoration, advertising and marketing, and new creative possibilities. This picture, I don't know if you can see, is a bowl of soup that looks like a monster knitted out of wool. When ChatGPT first came out, and I'm having a brain fart, I can't remember the image one. I want to say Diango or Yango, but I started playing around with that and using it for my presentations. It would have taken me a very long time and intellectual property liabilities to create these images by myself or steal them from someone else. With AI, I kind of have that free common licensing. The way I write decks now is a lot quicker than I used to before. And again, I embrace everyone to do it. I even have an app on my phone. It's the Bing Chat app. And I click on the mic whenever I'm at a dinner and I don't know something, and they say, okay, what's the color of the flag of this country? I can actually just click on Bing and ask it in natural language, tell me the color of this country, this flag, and it will come back to me in natural language. I can ask the actual complex questions like, what are the 10 best ways to preserve a relationship? And it will come back with really great ideas. And it's so instantaneous, so at our fingertips, so open to the general public, that it's going to really make the next few years really exciting for all of us, especially as security professionals. So adversarial LLM, so Fraud GPT and Worm GPT, hacking tools and vulnerabilities. I remember when I first saw OpenAI in December of last year, and I asked a simple question. What are the types of malware families that the Hive group uses? Actually, sorry, that's the Revel group, because back then they were very prolific, and they were attacking places like the Colonial Pipeline, and they had a whole bunch of high-profile attacks. And OpenAI responded with 5 different malware families, with the CVE references even. So as a defender, that's great. I know exactly the vulnerabilities that these attackers use, and I should prioritize the vulnerability remediation and management in my company. Now when you ask OpenAI that question, it doesn't give you that information anymore. So there's some logic that has changed behind it to reduce the maliciousness that this tool can provide. And I'm assuming that's a Microsoft type of thing. However, these are very corporate-owned type of solutions. These examples I use do not have those safeguards or restrictions. And hackers will continually look at innovating this technology for attack as well as defense. So as security professionals, there's two angles for us. Obviously the defensive angle, how can we use AI to protect the bank? But even more so important, how do we make sure we're not breaking the law? So let's talk about emergency regulations for a second. The voluntary code of conduct on the responsible development and management of advanced generative systems, well, I'll say that 3 times fast. Really what this legislation from Canada introduces is around accountability of AI, the safety and usage of AI, fairness and equity, especially around ethics and around profiling and things of this nature. And if you want to look at history of that, do a search on Google. There's a lot of work between AI researchers and ethics researchers with the company to make sure that they're creating a really good level playing field for everybody involved. Transparency. How are these AI models producing the results? Is it a black box, or do we understand from how we got from point A to point B so we can make those corrections? Human oversight and monitoring of AI, because as I mentioned many times before, at this current stage, AI is not the most accurate tool, and it is, again, just a tool. It requires critical thinking. And lastly, validity and robustness of the AI models. How robust are they? Are they repeatable? Are they defendable? Are they integral? So the government of Canada, to me, is taking a very proactive lead when it comes to AI regulation and LLM. The Artificial Intelligence and Data Act has the following approach: ensuring high-end AI systems align with Canada's safety and human rights expectations. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry would oversee the administration and enforcement of AI and LLM. New AI and Data Commissioner's Office would be established to support regulatory development and administration of AI models and LLMs within Canada. And lastly, ADA would introduce criminal law provisions to prohibit the reckless and malicious AI use. So I think Canada, again, is taking a very advanced step when it comes to AI. I think all of us as security professionals need to embrace AI, either through your third-party vendors or looking at your AI usage within your own company. Because failure to do that, you will be left behind. The EU AI Act also has unacceptable risk forbidden to implement. Cognitive behavioral manipulation of people is a big concern. We don't want to sell cigarettes to children with extremely attractive packaging. Thank you very much, Joe Camel. Real-time and remote biometric identification, such as facial recognition, so we can profile our citizens based on race. No, thank you. High risk, need registration and evaluation. Models used in products with existing safety regulations. Transportation, medical devices, toys used by kids. Models used for a list of specific applications, such as law enforcement, law interpretation, education. I look forward to the day, well, I don't look forward to the day being arrested, but I look forward to the day where a police officer is arresting someone and they can converse in their natural language. Because to be quite honest, that's a very tense situation as it is, let alone for someone who doesn't speak English as a first language. And I'm also looking forward to real-time translation. So today, for instance, we do a lot of business in Mexico, Peru, Chile, and Colombia. South America's a massive Scotiabank presence. Today, when I speak with my counterparts in these countries, I have this closed captioning. I can see that they're speaking in Spanish, I can read the words in English, but I look forward to the day where I speak and it's real-time translated into Spanish for them and vice versa with accuracy. And the accuracy is really important because some Spanish words really sound like swear words if you say them wrong. And same thing from an English perspective. And the last thing I need to do is piss off a board of directors with the wrong translation. So I don't have the faith in it there yet, but we're definitely getting to that stage. The summary is, it's a fast and evolving team sport. It's not just information security tasked with protecting AI within your company. It's really around your privacy groups, your legislative groups. And lastly, regulators and industry bodies are monitoring this situation, and we now need to understand how the laws and emerging laws apply. expect new requirements in this space to be very evolving. Thank you much, everyone, for your time.